So today we're going to be changing the plug on this receiver and this battery. I'll pronounce it in Australian, but I'm sure everyone can translate as necessary. Basically we're going from these Mini Tamiya plugs to these Dean's or T-style connectors, basically because I have a lot more of these available on my chargers than I do these. In fact, I only have one of these, and I live in a remote area of Australia where there's no hobby shop within 300 miles, so I have to order them. They take weeks to arrive. It's just easier to change them. What am I going to need to change them? Well, obviously I'm going to need some new connectors, so I've got those out of my spares bin. Soldering iron. You'll need some heat shrink. I don't have much of that left, but I've got some other stuff that I might have to run out and collect. This special tube for de-pinning the connector that hopefully will work on camera, and some solder, which is probably on the workbench somewhere that I just can't see. If not, here's some solder. This is, what is it, 6040 leaded solder, and then something to do the heat shrink with. This is my option. I do usually have a little one of these little guys, but this one just doesn't work at the moment, so I'll use the biggie. Other than that, just make sure you got some light. Take your time. Some people are really cautious about doing stuff with batteries. When I do this, I'm going to do one cable at a time, so I don't have both of these sort of unprotected, so they can't short out. Oh, the other thing you might need, if you're not very good with using cutters, you might need a wire stripper. I'm a bit of a novice when it comes to cutters, so I'll use this to strip the wires. But hey, YouTube's not about making fun of people that are new at things, it's about learning, so I'll pause and get right into it. Okay, so let's start with the car. First thing I need to do is to de-pin this connector. I'm going to use one of my adapters just so I can keep in mind of which one is which, you know, keep my polarities right. On these T connectors, the positive is typically this bottom thick one, so top and bottom. So on this part, because that's the kind of connector I'm going to be putting on, the sort of would you call it the male version? So what I need to do is I'm going to use this straw. These connectors have got little pins down in here, and you slide this over the top of the pin, and it squeezes in these little tangs, and then you should, he says cautiously, be able to pull out the connector like that. So, and that means that I can reuse these later on if I need to, or maybe even make another adapter lead for them. So there we go. So it doesn't matter on these, if these touch, there's no power to it, so that's an easy one to start with. I've also got my car on this little board because it's got some little helping hands type handles. That's the 3D printer starting. So I'll put that over the side. I've got some extra light going, and I guess the first thing I'll need to do is to actually, I won't just try and solder onto these, I'm going to cut them and solder on this connector. Generally, you put this on the receiver side instead of on the battery side, in case something gets horribly damaged and these touch each other, that won't short out. So that's my plan. I'm going to cut these off as close to the top as I can. Lovely. And now I'll get my strippers. Oh, these are nice silicon wires and they strip really easily. I'll try and... well, that one didn't. See, I spoke too soon. Oh, that should be enough. Try and twist the ends a little bit. Now I need to make sure I put my heat shrink on there, and this heat shrink is too big for this gauge of wire, so I'm just going to pause and get some other heat shrink. Alright, I'm back and I brought some other heat shrink, so I'll pop that in there. For this stuff, I'm not going to need a lot of it, so I'm going to cut it in half. There's my scissors. I finally get a better cut with these, so I'll just sort of chop that in two, and that will be enough. I don't think it really matters what colour heat shrink you use. I just buy the cheapest stuff that I can get. Although it's not usually the cheapest stuff, it's usually the stuff that I can just genuinely get easily. Alright, so let us begin. Now, I might actually need to put some bigger stuff on there as well, because these pins are quite large and the heat shrink's got to slip over them. So what I might end up doing is kind of double sleeving this. But as I've only got two lots of connectors to do, that should work okay. And this one should sleeve over the top of that one and out of the way. And you can never be too insulated, I don't think. What do I know? I'm no expert. You're here to learn, I'm here to learn. Either that or you're here to judge my skills. In which case, please leave your comments in your mind. No one needs to hear that. I'm going to attempt to not do anything wholeheartedly dangerous. I'll move that out of the way so you can see a little bit better. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is try to tin the wire. I'm going to clean my soldering iron tip first and tin the tip, just to get a bit of slightly better heat conductivity. And I'm going to try, and there we go. Lovely. Do this one as well. Nice. Awesome. Then I'm going to do this one. I'm going to try and... This is going to be a little bit tricky because I'm going to have to get the soldering iron on one side and the solder onto the other. So usually I'll try and heat this center part, so I'm going to have my hands in the way. And I really don't think there's a way I can do it where my hands won't be in the way. Oh, maybe like that. Let's try. Is that going to get enough? There we go. Lovely. But also don't want to melt the connector, which can be tricky. There we go. Nice. Oh, that's quite a lot of solder, but that's okay. Alright, so this one is the positive. So that one needs to connect up to there somehow. So what I'm going to do is try and hold these like this and solder it. And once I get one, that should make it easier for the others. Now I'm going to hold this in my hand, and my hand's going to get very hot. Yep, wire got hot. Now I should be able to let go. There we go. One. Solder joint. Ooh, that's hot. Okay. And now I'll do the same for the other one. It's going to be a little bit trickier. That's why I'm going to use my little helping hand doodad here. I might even grasp it on there. I don't know if I can spin it over so you can see it, but I'll try. Will it? No, not really. I'm going to try and sort of hold it so it's within range, and hold it and solder it without burning my fingers and without letting the other side of the connector get desoldered. Oh, I'm going to get burnt doing this. Did I get it? I think I got it. Yay! Whew, that's hot. Okay, so they're done. I'll try and get the blue heat shrink over, but what I might do is sort of leave that aside to cool. There it is. It's on there. They're not the best solder joints, but they'll be serviceable. I mean, these are on the car, so there's not a lot. Now I'll get my little poker, and I will poke through the blue heat shrink just enough to get started. There we are. I said I was going to leave these, didn't I? Change of plans. I'm going to try and do this video as much as I can in real time, so anyone watching can see that if someone like me can do it, then someone as smart as you can do it too, because it's all about practice. The best way to learn how to solder is to just solder stuff. Probably don't start with lithium batteries though. Start with those little kits you get off eBay. those little, you know, LED kits and stuff that run off of a watch battery. They're a good way to get started. Oh no, my battery terminal tool. There we go. Now this heat gun, I'm still getting used to it. It's new, so bear in mind. There we go. I'll start and then I might pause. Just keep the heat moving. Yeah, it's shrinking down. I think that'll do us. I think it's going to slide off. Is it? No, it seems okay. Alright, so that's that one done. Now we just need to do the, is that right? Red and black, yep, got that right. Now I just need to do the battery. That's the fun one. Pause. Alright, so I don't know if you can see them there. I'll try and hold them up near the camera. So there's some little, you can just see that's the shiny bit, that little tang, it's sort of a V and it pokes out. And that's what we need to do. Now I'm going to desolder the negative first. So I'm going to poke that in and waggle the pin out. And I'm going to leave the positive nice and insulated on there. And yeah, got to be super careful. I have a fire extinguisher and a fire blanket at the ready for doing this. I think I'll be okay. So I'm going to just snip it off and get your strippers and strip off a menial small amount of wire. I'm going to hold that in my little helping hand. Get my solder. I'm going to clean the tip because if there's anything that solder likes, it's a clean tip. Keep your tips clean, guys. And I'm going to let that warm up for some good heat conduction. There we go, lovely. Alright, now on this little plug, I need to get that one done. Now I've got a little, it's not much of a hint. If you're doing this with RC cars, you probably own a yoga block. A yoga block is a really handy way to do this. So basically you can stuff that in a hole in your yoga block and it holds it while you tin it. So I'll tin both while I'm here. So that's the wrong side of the eye. There we go. There we go. Lovely. I'll tin this one while I'm here as well. I'm not very good at sort of holding it steady. There we go. Lovely. Now that's going to be really hot, so I'm going to leave it for a moment. I will need some more solder for the wire part. I'm also going to get my heat shrink at the ready, my yellow heat shrink that it actually turns out is the size that I need, even though I said it wasn't. The cables on the battery are bigger than the cables on the on the receiver, so that wasn't very even. Never mind. No one minds. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder this one and heat shrink it, then I'm going to deepen the other one, so there's no chance that they're going to come into any kind of unfortunate contact with one another. That's sort of the best way I can do it. Ah, fell out. See, I said it's a great hint, and then I couldn't do it. Hold on. And now I'm just burning myself on the thing. And now that's in the way. See, this is it's all going wrong. There we go. Stay. And I'm going to try and hold this vertical. Did I get it? I might have got it. Yeah, that'll do. Alright. So I need to let that cool slightly, otherwise I'm going to try and slide the heat shrink up and it's going to shrink up before it gets there, so I need to... That makes no difference, by the way. I'll pause while and waggle it around a bit. Pausing and waggling over, let's heat it up, shrink the heat shrink wrap. Here it comes. Keep the heat moving, otherwise you'll melt the connector. Ask me how I know. It's not the first time I've melted something with a heat gun. Lovely. Alright. So that one's done. Let me just double check with my adapter. Yep. That's going to work. Alright, time to de-pin the other one. And so again, you just stuff this. This is the straw that comes off a model kit. I think it came off of either my little WPL van or maybe off the Tamiya Hornet. You just stuff it over the top of the connector. It pushes the little spring tabs in, and that's all it does. It's kind of like a spring compressor on a cylinder head, you know. And then you can hopefully waggle out the connector. Lovely. And again, I'll put that in my save for later pile, because I always end up making little adapters and patch cables and stuff for chargers, but I've got this big 4-channel charger and I only have one adapter cable, and I've suddenly had a flurry of things that I bought that have the little Mini Tamiya connectors, so I'm changing the cheap ones because they're cheap, and so am I. Alright, put that in my helping hands. Clean my tip. Get some clean solder on it. There we go, fresh stuff. Like Woolworths. Oh, I wish I had steady hands. There we go. Lovely. And I know the tip on the connector is actually already tinned, so that's good. Really, that should be around that way, and I have basically tinned the wrong side of that connector, but that's okay. We will persevere. Now it's, oh, haha, nearly forgot the heat shrink. We've all done that. If you've soldered something that's meant to be heat shrink and you haven't put the heat shrink on, have you even soldered something? I actually think that might need a little bit more solder. Let me just... It's a bit blobby on there. It doesn't really... It's almost like it's not making a very good bond. There we go. That's on. Lovely. One batteries. And I said it makes no difference. Slide that over. That will automatically start to shrink down because it's already very hot. I'm going to try and poke it and heat shrink it. There we go. All done. Did I heat shrink? Yeah, I did do that. So let's just bring the car back in. There's the car. And we'll double check that our polarity is the same, and let's should we plug it in and see if there's any smoke? Let's try it. So plugged in, test for smoke. Which way do I flick it? I don't remember. Oh, on. There we go. Flashing light indicating that we have not killed it. Happy days. So now I should be able to plug this into my charger. Let me just get my charger into view here. This is my 4-channel charger, GT Power. I did do a short video about this. Let me plug in my patch lead, because it's an XT60 and I need a Dean's. So there's a 2S balance lead, and plug in my charger there. And this battery says it is a 850 milliamp hour, so I'll charge it at 800. Let me just stop and select LiPo, and I don't want... Oh right, I need to check and do the capacity first, and I want a balance charge. Checking the battery, it hasn't found any reverse polarity, so that's good. It's charging. It's at 7.68 volts. So there you go. I hope you've got something out of that. That is how to change in real time the receiver and battery plugs on your this is a, I think it's a WL Toys buggy, but basically any RC car. Hopefully you've got something out of it. Please consider giving me a like and subscribe, and share this. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.